I think healthy eating has become way more complicated than it needs to be. A lot of people feel like every meal has to be influencer, personal chef created, perfect, balanced, optimized, clean. And honestly, that pressure is exhausting and really just not doable in some people's everyday lives. Just a reminder, social media is the highlight reel, right? It's not a reality. And today I want to show you what balanced eating can actually look like in real life. Hey guys, I'm Katie Lovett. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm the owner of Nourished Thrive Nutrition Counseling and the host here on the Nourished Thriving Show. Thank you so much for joining in. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to our channel. It really helps us get the word out more. We appreciate your support. So I want to show you guys what balanced eating can look like in real life. What does a balanced meal actually even mean? Boy, howdy, there's been a lot of confusion and uproar over this in recent months with the new dietary guidelines for Americans coming out and all of the conversations that, we'll call them conversations. All of the conversations that have stemmed from that, from those updated guidelines. I'm going to tell you guys what, as a dietitian and owner of a private practice and somebody who's helped hundreds of patients get healthier and achieve their health goals, I'm going to share what a balanced meal means to me and what I've seen works best for people. Okay, so you can see here a picture of a balanced plate. And this is actually a snapshot from a handout we use with our patients here at Nourish and Thrive. And you can see we've got protein, we've got fiber, we've got color, we've got plants, we've got carbohydrates in here too. Yay, carbs. They have a place on a balanced plate, despite what a lot of people say these days. And we've got healthy fats and we've got satisfaction. You know, nutritious food should be delicious. It should be enjoyable. God gave you taste buds for a reason. You should enjoy the way your food tastes. And it can, also be in line with your health goals in this way. But we're not looking for perfection here. There is no perfect here on this earth. We've said this before on this show. We don't need perfect meals. We don't need perfection anyway. So that's the good news. We just need consistently nourishing meals. And sometimes I get it, that's a lot easier said than done. So we're going to get into some ideas of what can these balanced, nourishing meals look like. I'm going to share a couple of my favorite breakfast items, breakfast menu ideas first. So normally on a morning, when I have time and I'm at home, which is most of the time I'm able to, carve out time for breakfast. I'm reaching for one of these two things. It's going to be a Greek yogurt bowl. I'm going to make sure I'm getting enough yogurt in there. It's going to be not the plain, the unflavored kind. I like to add my own flavor. A lot of the flavored yogurts can have a lot of extra sugar, a lot of artificial ingredients in them. So I'm doing plain yogurt, maybe like a 2% fat. And we're going to add in some berries, some chia seeds, some flaxseed. Make sure you're storing those in the freezer because the oils in them can go rancid. So the freezer helps keep them fresh. A tablespoon of each. You can add in some sort of a crunch on top in the form of a granola, a paleo granola. You can make your own like superfood granola using walnuts and pumpkin seeds and pecans and roast them and blend them up. And that's beautiful too if you have that time and capacity, but otherwise you can add a little bit. Important note, don't treat the granola like a bowl of cereal, right? Where you're just adding yogurt on top and you're adding like a cup of granola, right? It's a garnish. It's meant to add a little crunch, a little texture. But the yogurt is kind of the star of the show, followed by the berries. And then everything else is on top. And then maybe add a little drizzle of honey. Local honey is great. If you have some local honey, it can actually help reduce seasonal allergies because it's exposing you to some of those local pollens. from your area. So that's one of my favorite go-to breakfasts. I might change it up a little in the summer if I'm feeling tropical. Maybe I lean a little more tropical. Maybe I'm going to add in some, some pineapple, some mango, some, stuff like that. That's going to be a little more tropical based, some coconut flakes. Maybe sometimes I'll add some cherries and cocoa powder, make like a chocolate cherry situation. Y'all have heard about my love for chocolate and cherries in my smoothie recipe in another show. So that's a great breakfast idea. Another option is going to be like an eggs and toast breakfast, right? So I really like buying pastured eggs. I've seen somewhere going around that like it's actually the chickens prefer being in the barn because they feel safe. They're more comfortable, all of that. Okay, but I like the pasture-raised eggs because the chickens are eating bugs, they're out pecking around, they're getting nutrients from being out in the pasture, which makes their eggs more nutrient dense too. And I still like to think that the chickens like being outside in the pasture and being able to wander around. My mother-in-law had chickens one time and they loved pecking around her yard. So I don't know. I'm not a chicken farmer or rancher. I guess farmers or ranchers. But so some eggs, maybe grab a couple of eggs. Maybe you want to bump up the protein a little bit. So one egg has about 7 grams of protein. And most people probably need like 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. This helps your body start to build muscle. So if you're trying to get there just with whole eggs, that becomes a large volume of eggs to consume at one time. So buying some liquid egg whites can help bump up the protein of that without adding as many fat. All of the fat of the egg is in the yolk. So you're going to keep calories a little lower, fat a little bit lower, protein higher. Most people don't have a hard time getting enough protein, that was the wrong thing to say. Most people don't have a hard time getting enough calories or fat. Most people have a hard time getting enough protein. So by adding in some liquid egg whites to the eggs, it bumps up the protein content of the eggs without adding a bunch of extra calories and fat is what I'm getting with. You can also just use egg whites and save the eggs for a custard or something like that. I hate throwing the yolks away. And so that's why I tend to just buy the liquid egg whites, because then I like to think that maybe the yolks are getting put to other use for even dog food or something, in the processing. And you can buy like good quality egg whites now too, if you care about like organic and stuff like that. Those are available depending on where you shop. Anyway, so some eggs. This morning, the way I cooked my eggs is I got a little bit of grass-fed butter. I put in some diced onions into the frying pan. I let that saute and caramelize and soften those onions up. When I scrambled my eggs, I just use a fork in a bowl method. I added some turmeric powder and some black pepper, which is great with inflammation, and it's full of antioxidants. Scrambled that up together, poured it in over the onions, cooked that together, and then I'd have some little cherry tomatoes. I put that in there too, and it was a really delicious, unique egg dish. I topped it with a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. It was really good. So that's something you can do. Bell peppers and onions for more of a Southwestern thing. You can do it by itself if you don't like, crunchy things in your eggs. I respect that. But you can really change it up. You can add different things. You can add, Canadian bacon. You can add spinach. You can add mushrooms, really to your liking. Eggs are great because they're a blank canvas. You can add a lot of different things to them. So I'll normally do some sort of an egg, sourdough toast, a little bit of butter, and then some fruit. So normally it's like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries this time of year because they're in season. Maybe in the summer I'll go more tropical. In the winter, it's harder. Maybe we'll do more apples or oranges and stuff like that because there's not as much in season in the winter. So that is my second breakfast. Now, if you are mad dashing it out the door and you don't have time to cook, I get that too. Sometimes you need some convenience. That's okay. So this is where something like the protein waffle, top it with some mashed avocado for a savory, protein waffle with some cottage cheese and fruit that can work too in a bind. Grab make a superfood smoothie. I've shared some smoothie ideas on previous episodes in this one, but make a smoothie for yourself with some protein powder. take it in the car, go if you've got to. But those are a few of my top breakfast ideas for you guys. The main takeaways, I think, from breakfast is protein at breakfast matters. I think because the protein is the more time intensive component of the meal. In the mornings, a lot of the time we're trying to get out the door. It's the part that can get skipped over. And it's really important for keeping our blood sugar stable, not crashing, not reaching for more sugar and snacks throughout the day or extra caffeine, all of that, and just keeping you satisfied for longer so you can get through your morning. A lot of people really start the day under-fueled and then spend the rest of the day kind of behind and trying to catch up. And that really sets you up to eat a lot of foods that maybe you aren't intending to eat, right? Because you're just trying to get some food in you at some sort, but you're not starting out intentionally. So that is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So this can really vary. And I always encourage people whenever they're meal planning, instead of just jumping in and like going into ChatGPT or going onto your favorite Instagram meal prepper influencer and looking at their meal plans, look at your week first. What does your week look like? Look at your family calendar, look at your planner, look at your work calendar, whatever it is. Look at your week first. What are the days where you have ample time to prepare a meal, an hour to, cook the food, eat the food, clean up the food, all of the things. And what nights are you kind of scrambling? I have nights where I eat, reheated vegetables and a glass Pyrex on the way to a t-ball game. Follow it with some chicken. We all have those crazy nights. I have chaotic schedules too, just like everyone else. And so whenever I'm going to need an easy solution for Thursday night, you can come up with that, right? But whenever you are, have this beautiful meal plan that requires all of this effort and intentionality, but your schedule does not allow for that, you get frustrated, right? And then you feel like you can't do it when really you just weren't set up for success. So first step is look at your schedule. And then think about, do you like leftovers? I know some of my patients don't like leftovers. They don't want to eat leftovers, and that's okay too. You've got to figure that out. Where do you need those convenience options? Where do you have a little bit more time? When you have a little bit more time, can you double the recipe and freeze it, or double the recipe and have leftovers for lunch or, a couple nights later so that you're not scrambling then or rushing through the drive-through. Some of my favorite things are make a batch of grains in bulk or carbohydrate in bulk. So roast some sweet potatoes, roast some potatoes, make some rice or some quinoa, and make like triple the portion of what your family would eat in one night. And either freeze it or stick it in the fridge and use it for the next couple of days. And you can customize it in different ways. And then lean on a bagged salad, lean on some frozen rice or cauliflower rice or a blend of the two. I love mixing them together. Your kids won't know that they're eating cauliflower rice. They just think it's rice, which is great. I'm not about like being deceptive with your kids with food, but I think if you can say, oh, well, you eat cauliflower all the time in your rice and you love it, then that makes it a more familiar food for them, right? So that avocado, frozen veggies, all of that stuff is really helpful. A rotisserie chicken from the grocery store can go really far. So one thing that I did a couple weeks ago was I made a bunch of quinoa and I was really wanting Mediterranean. So I got some chicken breast. I cut them up into bite-sized pieces. I marinated it in, I think it was like olive oil, vinegar, some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, marinated that for a little bit, stuck in the air fryer. And then I made a cucumber tomato salad with some like red onions, olive oil, vinegar, salt and pepper. And we made these like Mediterranean bowls and we had those for the next couple of days. And so we would get the grain, add the chicken, add the cucumber tomato salad, top it with some feta, top it with some cilantro, some parsley. All of those herbs have tons of nutrients. And then a drizzle of really good quality olive oil. And it was really great. You could also take that same grain and make it like a Southwestern inspired dinner. So one thing we love to do is get those like Siete brand chicken fajita seasoning packets. and they're so easy. Like we slice bell peppers, slice onions, slice chicken breast, throw them in the frying pan with the siete seasoning packet, cook it. Boom. Throw that over some quinoa that you've made earlier that week. Top it with some Mexican shredded cheddar. Top it with some pico. You've got a really nice meal that can come together in, really 10 minutes. Even, cooking ahead of time can work too. So you have some time to meal prep on Sunday, cook your grains, cook your proteins, make sure your veggies are chopped, and then you can throw components together. Whenever you go grocery shopping, make sure that everything that you're buying has a purpose whenever you buy it. Otherwise, you're going to go to the store, you're going to order your groceries online and have the best of intentions, and the food is going to sit in your fridge and turn brown and mushy and finally get thrown away because you never had a plan with it to begin with, right? So before you bring that food into your home, make sure you have a plan for it. Make sure you have a purpose for it. So you're not just ultimately throwing it away because you didn't really know what to do with it or you ran out of time. You don't have to have elaborate meal prep for this stuff. You don't have to have homemade everything. Lean hard into, a bowl of chopped fruit or the frozen veggies that are pre-cut. Those can get you really far on those, nights that are more rushed. Sometimes the healthiest thing that you can do is just make nutrition easier, right? Make eating at home easier than going to the drive-thru. And then you're going to be less likely to go into that drive-thru, right? Convenience is not failure. Sometimes that's what you need to be successful with your plan. So another example I want to share is a takeout upgrade. Okay, so let's say you are going through the drive-thru. We all have those nights, or you're just not home, or you've been out of town, or you've been out. You have a small window to eat, and you've got to go somewhere else again, and you've got to pick up some food for your family. That's why takeout's around. That's why restaurants are around. So try, first of all, to choose a place where you can get nourishing options, right? There's like the Greasy Spoon or the Old Burger place that is delicious, but they don't have a lot of healthy options, right? And so there's a time and there's a place for just really delicious food. But if it's like a run-of-the-mill weeknight, and you're just trying to get some nourishment for your week, choose a place that has healthier options as an option. One of my newest finds, my oldest daughter loves Jersey Mike's, and I am fast becoming a fan because their service at our location is amazing. Those staff members are so on it. They're so kind. They're quick. And I was introduced to this concept of you can get their chicken Philly sandwich in a bowl, and it's so good. It's fresh cooked, like they cook it right there in front of you after you order it. It's chicken, bell peppers, onions. I think they add their like olive oil and vinegar on it. For sure vinegar. I taste the vinegar. They put it in the bowl and top it with some provolone cheese. You're getting protein. You're getting your veggies. You're getting, fat probably because they're cooking the chicken in some oil. That's great. If you want a sandwich, you can certainly get bread too, but it's easy. Another one, I think a lot of people go to Chick-fil-A, right? They have really good grilled nuggets that taste amazing. They have the little kale salad on the side. You can get that and the grilled nuggets and have a really enjoyable meal, I'm not saying that's always what you have to get. I'm not saying you can never eat a Chick-fil-A nugget again in your life, but on those weeknights where you're really just wanting to support your nutrition and fuel your body, that's a good option for you, Let's see, what's another option here? A burger in a bowl. So many people are doing those like bunless burgers now, or like a lettuce wrap burger. Asian restaurants tend to have a lot of vegetables too, with like rice noodles and stuff like that, if you're needing gluten-free options. So there's a lot of options. Try to get creative with it, and don't be afraid to ask for what you need at the restaurant either. I think, used to, it was kind of, and maybe some like more niche local restaurants are still like this. You have to order what's on the menu, and that's how they serve it. That's definitely very European. Americans like to customize everything. So you can think, is it a McDonald's commercial where it's like order it your way or get it your way or something like that? Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but don't be afraid to ask for what you need when eating at a restaurant. And then let's talk snacks. Snacks in real life. Snacks are important, right? It can be another occasion to get in more nutrition. If you're really focusing on protein and building muscle, there's a certain amount of protein that your body can really utilize in one eating occasion. So most of the time, in order to get the amount of protein in that you need to build muscle, you're going to have to eat more than 3 times a day. So normally that 4th time is another, one that really brings it home with the protein intake. And so you're going to get this through like a 4th meal or a mini meal or a snack. And so you're going to want to make sure that you're pairing your carbs and your protein together. Don't eat naked carbs. I've said this before. Don't eat a carbohydrate, a grain or a fruit by itself, or your blood sugar can spike up and come crashing back down and leave you feeling shaky and reaching for more food. So this can look like, a protein shake and something like that, a protein shake with a side of fruit. If it's like a prepackaged shake and you're on the go, it can be a protein smoothie. It can be cottage cheese and fruit. If you're not as concerned about protein intake, a good example of like dressing your carbohydrate up is like an apple with peanut butter, right? That's a pretty common one. Or cheese and crackers. That's another, kind of maybe common snack idea that people might reach for is some crackers, add some cheese or add some hummus. Even better, get that hummus, get those crackers, add in some veggies on the side of that too. And you've just made yourself, you've gotten some more nutrients in that way too. I know, people have got busy schedules. Moms out there are juggling all the things. Maybe dads are too, you've got work days with back-to-back meetings. If you're working from home, maybe you're expected to be on Zoom calls all day, and there's a lot of stress that can come with that. And, healthy eating has to work within your real life or else it doesn't last. It's not going to be sustainable. And so then it's not going to be effective. And so we've got to find ways to make that and make that work. So people can overthink and stress out about ingredients, perfection, clean eating, the social media pressure, the aesthetic look, right? But people are spending so much time trying to perfect these meals and so much energy trying to make these perfect meals that they just stop enjoying food entirely or they give up on their health goals. And your body really benefits more from consistency than from perfection that's hit or miss, right? So my simple bullet point checklist include protein whenever you eat. I've said that a few times. Add color, add fiber, eat the rainbow, right? Get all of the different colors of the rainbow in your diet. Make it a challenge for your work group or your family or your friend group who can eat every color in the rainbow of plant foods, the most or every day or whatever you want to do. It can be fun. Eat consistently. Don't skip meals and then save calories for later or, say, well, it doesn't matter what I eat because I didn't eat breakfast and lunch. So now I can have everything. That tends to backfire. Don't overcomplicate it either though. Don't go for like Instagram worthy, meals all the time. Just go for functional stuff that tastes good and that you enjoy eating. And then use convenience strategically. And we're actually going to talk more about that next week. Some of my favorite convenience food options as a registered dietitian. So make sure you join us for that. So just remember, balanced eating is about building, balance. It's not about building perfect meals. It's more about building sustainable patterns in your nutrition plan. So make sure you like this episode. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe to our channel and come back next week for more.